Second. Hello everybody, all my buddies on Facebook. Now you'll never guess where I am actually, yes you will, because on Facebook you will know that I'm at the Centre for Optimism. And let me just spin this for the moment. Have a look at this. You know, we've got a nice round table here with Victor Purton, the founder of the Centre for Optimism, and lots of lovely people here. And we're talking about the links between passion and optimism, of course. And I'm wearing my passion jacket, my red jacket, because red is the colour of passion. So stick around, I'm going to go for about 20 minutes and questions, and Ted Purton is going to do the filming, so stick around. Ted, over to you, and we'll swap that to there. And hopefully you can hear it adequately, because it works pretty well. Now, let me share with you one of my secrets. Can any of you please run through all of the names of the people sitting around this table, other than Victor? Doesn't count.
I know I wrote them, but I couldn't remember.
So we've got Eloise and Ted, and we've got Paul, and we've got Gary, we've got Dave, we've got Tony, we've got Mark, we've got Shannon, we've got BJ, we've got Walter, Angela, I thought. Andrea, Theo, Victor, and Jeff. Now, how did I do that? And it's a useful tool to have, because people say to me, I've got a shocking memory. And let that be the metaphor for never saying about yourself that you're shocking at anything. All of you have perfect memories. All of us. Every human being has perfect memory. It is our recall that is shit, technical term. Perfect memory. So, when you drive down the street 10 years later, you will say, I've been down this street. Or you will meet somebody and 20 years later say, I met you, Shannon, 20 years ago. And I was looking at Walter and I thought, you look like John Sow. And I thought, it's John Sow or Walter Villa Gonzalez. See? So the point is the way, so you've got fantastic memory. Now, if you go to a memory expert, they will say, when you meet somebody, be intensely concentrating on that person in that moment. And then as you were going around, I kept repeating, who is it, the names, because you hear it once and then listen to the next person and then you forget. I promise you it works, certainly in short-term memory, and then there are other wonderful tricks to put it into long-term memory. So, thank you for coming. I have some notes for you. Very simple. I have 7 sets of notes. And 7 steps that we're going to cover tonight, 7 key topics. One of the key questions that I have for you is, that's why the metaphor of remembering names is good, is what do you say to yourself? And Theo, you raised it beautifully, you know, that we're optimistic about other people but not of ourselves. So the first idea is never say that you are shit at anything, or lousy, or shocking. You go, wow, I'm not fantastic, I'm a learner in that space, but I'm not shocking, because when you say that, you are imprinting that into your subconscious. Now, what I said to Victor some months ago, he said, what's the link between passion and optimism? And I said 2 concepts, self-belief and self-confidence. I'm a professional speaker, I was a tax lawyer for 20 years, I've been a speaker and a coach for 26 years. I'm involved in a number of different businesses, including Industrial Hemp Mark, which is the saviour for all of those environments in which you work where you want to rejuvenate economies. Industrial hemp is the solution, and Paul, that's where you and I met talking about hemp many years ago, or perhaps it was, anyway, I'm trying to remember the precise environment. So that in my coaching work, people say to me, I'm scared about speaking in public, or I'm uncomfortable walking into an environment where I don't know people. And I want to share this strategy with you that changes your whole life about this question of ever being nervous about anything. I want you to imagine the smartest person on the planet right now. You know, Elon Musk seems to me to be pretty smart. Twiggy Forrest seems to me to be pretty smart. Come on, who do you reckon is a genius? Who do you admire as being really super smart?
I think Steve Jobs was.
Steve Jobs, yes. Shocking on relationships.
Yeah.
Ray Dalio, yes, I'm a great fan of Ray Dalio.
I think Bill Gates.
Yeah, Bill Gates, I put him into that amazing category. Now, if you think of the smartest person that you can imagine, if between my hands here is the sum total of human knowledge, the smartest person that
Very, very small.
Tiny, I reckon. Tiny. Is that a fair comment?
Yeah.
The smartest bloke in the room knows a tiny man. And let alone us, we know bugger all about anything. And so this is how I picture myself. I know I'm one of the world's experts on passion. Trust me, that's the case. I've been doing this for 26 years. I know a lot about this. I know a lot about human behaviour. But in this grand scheme of information, I know this much. So the point is, every time we meet somebody, they also know a tiny amount, but all of us are walking around trying to show people how smart we are. And one of the great liberating ideas comes from Anthony de Mello. And this is tied into optimism. Anthony de Mello, who's heard of Anthony de Mello? An Indian Jesuit. Asian Indian.
I've heard the name, but
famous
I don't recall.
Philosopher, spiritualist, human development. And he said, liberation comes when you realise you are an idiot and you know nothing. I don't know that he used the word idiot, but basically we are so ignorant. When you stop trying to prove yourself, you become liberated. Now, this question of why do we beat ourselves up so much is because we are acutely conscious of all of the stuff we don't know. Whereas we're not acutely conscious, I'm not acutely conscious of all of the stuff that you don't know. True? Paul, is it fair? You don't know everything, do you? So I've got no consciousness around what you do know. And so de Mello, this is such a liberating idea. Number one, that each one of us knows bugger all. Number two, we lose our self-confidence and our self-belief because we focus on what we don't know and we give ourselves no credit for what we do know. And what's the dialogue? I'm going to talk about psychology because it ties very much into the work that I do. But understanding the psychology that drives how you feel, once you understand it, you can do something about it. And so in my work, I am also driven by Einstein's philosophy. And he said this: the key is to make everything as simple as possible and no simpler. As simple as possible, but no simpler. That's what simplistic is. Simplistic is you've made it too simple. I am constantly hunting for simplicity. And one of the keys to getting an idea across, the basis of getting an idea across is to use metaphor, analogies, stories, humour. So you're constantly crafting, and if you go to YouTube and get a topic that you love, find speakers on particular topics. I recommend the Hoover Institution. I'm a conservative thinker generally. I'm into free enterprise. My parents left Hungary to get away from communism. So I am entirely anti-socialist, but I'm entirely pro helping people who need help. So put me down as anti-communist, okay? Anti-socialist, but I spend my life helping people, so go figure. So where was I heading to with that thought? I was just thinking of my parents momentarily.
Hoover Institute.
Simplicity. So all the time, I'm constantly striving to understand. If you go to a YouTube channel like the Hoover Institution, like Uncommon Knowledge, like SocratesInTheCity.com, wonderful speakers. And when you keep looking at great speakers, you get great clues of how to share complex ideas in simple ways. Make sense? And indeed, politics is about that as well, isn't it? How do you get all these complex ideas to a person so that they go, oh, I like that idea. Now, self-belief and self-confidence. So I've got these 7 key topics today. So Eloise, if you could pass that around. And Ted, if we show this to the audience, there's my key topics. Does that show up okay?
Oh, you got to turn around. There we are. Yes.
There you are, that's all it is, 1 page. Sorry, you got that? Yeah,
Let's just take 5, 4.
So, we're going to talk about how your psychology is created. And this is all going to happen in 20 minutes, of course. I've been going for 5 minutes now, Victor, I reckon.
We'll be very liberal with your time.
Understand how psychology is created. Understand passion and its link to your, quote, success, end quote. Understand the links between optimism and passion. Increased willingness to take responsibility for your success. Understand the need for discipline if you want to have a successful life. Understand the need to take risks and make mistakes. And Victor, you were talking about this whole question on this basic innovation. And gain insights into how to overcome the fears that block great performance and great results. Make sense? So, what makes you feel how you feel? What makes you feel how you feel? The answer is your subconscious mind. What is it that makes you do what you do? What drives your behaviour on a moment-by-moment basis? The answer is, and we would have a conversation, but we can expand this later in Q&A. Every act that you take is driven by your thoughts. Your thoughts drive your actions. You are all in this room because you thought, I would be in this room. And you took the steps and you thought and you got here on time. Thoughts drive your actions. The actions that you have taken in your life have created your life. Is that a fair comment?
Yeah, right, just where
The
you
actions that you have taken have created your life. Now, there are 2 types of thoughts on a spectrum, SI and SH. SI stands for a famous Australian who died some years ago called Steve Irwin. So just imagine this, when Steve Irwin wakes up in the morning, what sort of thoughts, do you think he was optimistic?
Yeah.
Do you think he was passionate?
Yeah.
Absolutely. He would wake up in the morning, what were some of the things that he would have said, Steve Irwin? What was his famous catchphrase?
What a great day.
What a great day. He'll say, crikey, let's get into this, you know, and Bindies and his kid, like, he would wake up with these amazing thoughts. And he would do these amazing actions. And he had an amazing life, so that when he died, it was reported that 300 million people were sad about it. When you die, how many people are going to be upset?
Oh, you're going to be upset when I die.
I'll be upset. 300 million people. So this amazing life that he creates. That's the SI end of the spectrum. The SH stands for shithouse or shitty. I don't swear when I'm presenting, but this is an Australian adjective. Shitty thoughts. Now just imagine what happens if you wake up in the morning with shitty thoughts. What sort of actions are you going to take? Shitty actions. You take shitty actions, what sort of life will you have? A shitty life. And of course, if you've got a shitty life, you wake up the next morning. Of course you've got shitty thoughts, your life is shitty! But you have created it. And the big insight is, you have a choice on this spectrum between shitty thoughts and Steve Irwin type inspired, optimistic, passionate thoughts. Where are you going to choose? Now, your choice is dictated by your subconscious mind. And basically your subconscious mind is a tape recorder, it's a video recorder that has recorded every experience that you have had in your life. And great joy because my wife has just arrived, Julie. Hello, Julie. Hello, Julie. Now Victor, she will need a glass of red, you know, we're drinking. Come over here, darling. You've got your seat here. We're being live on Facebook. And you know a number of people here, Julie, as you know.
Come in.
Thank you.
And there's a bottle of Tempranillo that's just in front of you.
No, look.
Try this picnic red, it's gorgeous.
Picnic red.
Well, try the picnic bread, that's
It's
the
lovely.
new one, picnic bread.
There you go.
So your subconscious mind, since you were in utero, and trust me, in utero you are cellular memory from your mother. You record conversations that your mother and your father are having, like I had with my parents were migrants from Hungary. They had no money, came here, they ended up with 6 kids, no money, couldn't speak the language, and I was born when they'd been here for 3 years. I was born in October 1952, so I'm now 67 years old. That's imprinted in my subconscious mind, what your parents said about you when you were in there, and then you're born and brothers and sisters, your whole life, school, all of that has gone into your subconscious mind. And what happens is when something happens externally that you experience through your 5 senses, seeing, hearing, touching, tasting, smelling, you then interpret that based on your swamp. I call your subconscious mind your swamp. There's very little truth about what's happening out there. You are interpreting. Wayne Dyer has a beautiful line. He says, most people say, I will believe it when I see it. Wayne Dyer famously said, I'll see it when I believe it. I'll see it when I believe it. It makes, in science terms, it makes total sense for how your optic nerve works, right? Light rays hit your eyes, retina, sends a message to your brain. If you don't believe something exists, you won't see it. So your swamp, you interpret experience through your swamp. Now, who has got the identical swamp to any of you on the planet? No one. Not even an identical twin has the same. So each one of us is a weirdo. So from now on, I want you, we're used to saying we are unique, but the fact is each one of us is a weirdo. And when you start picturing yourself as a weirdo and everybody else is a weirdo, you cease to be so upset about the fact that people disagree with you. It is a fluke if anybody agrees with me or with you. Because you don't know what's in the swamp of this weirdo. Now, coming to an event like this, the reason why coming to an event like this is important is because you can get a life-changing insight from one idea. And when we have a conversation, let's talk about what idea have you received that has changed your life? Because for those of you who've done timeline therapy and NLP, you can have one idea and suddenly the whole chain of pearls, what do you call it? Not a string of pearls, the whole string of pearls or a deck of cards or a domino all disappears, and suddenly what used to cause you great angst disappears. Personal development is becoming aware of what shit is in your swamp so that it doesn't have to drive your future behaviour. It can stay in your swamp, but it doesn't have to direct how you are. Does that make sense? So if you're writing notes, you start off with, I'm a weirdo. I have a swamp. Okay? And nobody has the same swamp as you do. So you then come to this question, what do you believe? You see, because this issue around optimism is hugely driven by your beliefs. So what do you believe? Now, when I coach people, and for those of you who are coaches in this room, start asking that question, what do you believe? Because you would be amazed how few people are aware of what they believe. I promise you. I ask my clients, write down what you believe. They've got no idea. Like, seriously. Because they're not consciously aware. And so self-awareness is this journey of saying, gosh, what do I believe? And where did that belief come from? Now, have any of you had a belief that you've ever changed?
Yeah.
It's quite possible to change, isn't it? Extra information helps us change a belief. And I mean, I used to believe in Santa Claus. Although when I put that proposition on the table, I know some adults who say, you mean it doesn't exist? Yes, Santa Claus does exist for any of you children looking on this. Facebook Live. Yes, Santa Claus is alive. But you know, there are four stages. There are four stages of life. The first stage is when you believe in Santa Claus. The second is when you don't believe in Santa Claus. The third is when you are Santa Claus. And the fourth, Theo, is when you look like Santa Claus. Now, the second point is understanding passion and its link to your success. So what is success? I want you to think about it. We're going to have a conversation and questions. I love questions. I used to be a lawyer for 20 years. I was a very successful lawyer. I was a tax lawyer, business lawyer, so I love questions. I'd love you to stuff me on a question, but questions, because they're a great way for any presenter, all of us, as we know, to learn. And we're coaching, we're learning from our clients. What is success? I'll share with you my favourite definition that I learned from Earl Nightingale in a magnificent presentation called The Strangest Secret. Who's ever heard of The Strangest Secret? Dave, Julie, look it up. Freely available, 47. It was the first platinum record of the spoken word in 1957. And I'll tell you what the strangest secret is in a moment. But the definition of success, and I urge you, I have not found a better definition. I'm in the success industry. The best definition of success that he shared, and that I have not found a better one, was that success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Now, what is the worthy ideal for you? Because each one of you is a weirdo. So my worthy ideal is not your worthy ideal. And most people don't know what their worthy ideal is. And the point about passion, and I'll define it in a moment, I talk about this in my book that I called Passionate People Produce, which has changed many people's lives.
It's a very good book. Buy it tonight. I've got a copy of it.
Passion, in my book, chapter 2, in fact I'll do it now. So, success is the progressive realisation of a worthy ideal. In chapter 2 of this, my definition of passion is that passion is a source of unlimited energy from your soul or your spirit that enables you to produce extraordinary results. Right? A source of energy. Now, why do we have passion? Why do we have this energy? And the answer is because what you are passionate about is a street sign to the suburb of your worthy ideal. Your passions are a clue to your meaning. In other words, success is the progressive realisation of your meaning and pursuing your meaning. Make sense? So your passion, so you then look back and say, I'm passionate about this, or if you don't know what you're passionate about, VJ, as we talked about, good. Your job is to find that. So the things you're passionate about are a clue that enables you to say, my worthy ideal, as Mark, you shared, is to solve poverty on the planet, in simple terms. Right? Paul, you are playing a big game, right? That has been driven by the value that you're adding. Coaches do, Theo, you do. Why did I give away a very lucrative career as a lawyer to share passion? Is because the world would be a better place if everybody was pursuing their passion. And because everyone's a weirdo, everybody can pursue their passion. It's not true that you can't. Unless you believe that you can't. Right? So this is where beliefs become very powerful. And this question of, what do I believe? Because if I'm not optimistic, there's beliefs getting in the way that stops me being optimistic. So, passion is a clue to your worthy ideal, and success is the progressive realisation of a worthy ideal, not the attainment of that ideal. Because people say, I say to them, do you feel successful? And they go, oh, sometimes yes, sometimes no. But that's because they haven't worked out the meaning of their lives. So I am a success, not because of my bank account balance, because I'm pursuing a range of worthy ideals that are tied to passion, that are related to making the world a better place. That's my driver. And more passionate people make the world a better place. Now, key topic number 3 is understand the links between optimism and passion. I said to you, Victor, this idea of self-belief and self-confidence. So where I started was, the reason why we don't have self-confidence is because of our swamps. The reason why we don't have self-belief is because of our swamps. Plus the additional data that each one of us knows bugger all. Is that a fair comment? We're happy with that proposition? Mm-hmm. We know bugger all. And so of course, how could you have self-belief when each one of us knows such a tiny amount? And so one of the things that you have to learn to say to yourself is to reprogram your swamp, to drain the swamp of this idea. So you start to go, what is a good life? Pursuing my worthy ideal. Am I passionate about it? Yes. How do I know that I'm passionate? I've got enormous energy. I wake up in the morning, I'm excited by, I'm inspired by, I'm enthusiastic about. And enthusiastic comes from the 2 Greek words, en and theos. En meaning inside, theos meaning God. Theo, you know that, named after God.
And the other thing I wanted there.
Yeah. Oh, it's Theo, that's it. So, enthusiastic is like being inside the mind of God. You'll know if you're passionate. If you don't know that you're passionate, then you send me an email and I'll send you this. If you don't know what, you buy the book. It's not, what am I talking about?
That's my gig. I'm selling your book.
That's right, you're selling it. It's normally $30, only $20 tonight because you've chosen to be here. Self-belief, self-confidence. So self-belief, your belief comes from your swamp. Now self-confidence. We have no right to be self-confident except for this. I'm a fan of Buckminster Fuller. Who's heard of Buckminster Fuller? Please get into it. And something that you said, Eloise, reminded me very much of Buckminster Fuller. He said the generalists survive, the specialists die. The specialists are dinosaurs, the generalists thrive. So being a generalist is a great thing to do because when the circumstances change, as I keep telling you can flip-flop wherever you want to go. And Buckminster Fuller said this, because I'm tight for time, I will say it rather than asking you the question. Your reward for solving problems is not peace, happiness, joy, satisfaction, progress. Your major reward as a human being for solving problems is bigger problems.
Yeah, that's right.
Full stop. You know, Paul, you look at your journey, how small were your problems when you first started compared to now when you've got a global enterprise? Your reward for solving problems is bigger problems. Now, why do people lose their self-confidence? Because they've got problems. How could I feel confident? I've got all these problems. That's your reward. And the more competent you are, the bigger problems you have. Like imagine being Prime Minister of a country. Mark, you spoke about PNG, but like you get to the top of the pile, those people have far bigger problems than we're dealing with. And so as soon as you adopt this philosophy is that for the rest of your life, provided that you're willing to keep learning, your problems will only get bigger. If I got you $1 billion donor, Mark, would your problems be bigger or smaller?
Oh, huge.
Huge. And you'd love them, wouldn't you?
Absolutely.
You know, so does that make sense? So from now on, you never, let yourself talk, you never beat yourself up because you've got problems that you can't immediately solve. Because problems are the way the universe keeps developing you. And so, because if you start beating yourself up, what happens to your optimism? You lose it because you go, I'm not good enough, I haven't got confidence, oh, I'll never be able to pursue this. No, that's the natural order. If it was easy, you wouldn't bother. So if I said to you, let's play a game of noughts and crosses, I'll start. You know, and you go, no, that's boring. That's boring. And so, once you've mastered something, you give yourself very little credit. Oh, master, anyone can do that. And then you go, the next thing, this is all too hard. And most people give up. That's why they're pessimistic. Now that comes into item number 6 and 7, which we'll get to in a moment. Next, number 4. Increase your willingness to take responsibility for your success. You are entirely responsible for your life. The alternative is to be a victim. Simple. Take responsibility or be a victim. Now, when you play the victim game, which is a very easy game to play, it will kill your self-confidence and your self-belief and your optimism. You have ceased to be in control when you play victim. Now, most people, in my experience, do not want to take responsibility for their lives. So, as a coach, offering responsibility is not an exciting opportunity. Because being the victim is, our society rewards victims with compensation, sympathy, and care. And it's easy to play the victim. It just kills optimism. It kills optimism. That's why I'm anti-communist, anti-socialist. Now, responsibility versus victim, and there's a whole, that's a 2-hour conversation in itself, and what that means, we can talk about that in questions. Next, understand the need for discipline. And the one idea I want to put here is this: 62% of Australians are overweight or obese. 62%. And I put to you that the vast majority of those weirdos, because we're all weirdos, the vast majority of them, it is an issue of discipline at play. And I say to you that every act of discipline builds your self-confidence and your self-belief. Every act of discipline, every time you do it, and every time you wimp out, you feel bad about yourself. And the issue of why aren't I disciplined, it's because you're not passionate. Because when you're passionate, you will be disciplined. Does that make sense? Because you're pursuing a worthy ideal, you're excited about it, and you say, I need to be in great shape. Of course, some people say round is a shape. I do understand.
Gary, let's just defend ourselves. Round is a good shape.
It's a shape. Now, I make no judgment about a particular individual because I know people, I ride my bike, I've been competing in triathlons for 35 years, I train every day. I ride the bike down Beach Road, I see people ridiculously overweight that go faster than I do. I get very upset about this. Because there are some people who can look out of shape, look unfit, look grossly overweight, but incredible energy and health. And the test is energy. You see, because Australia's GDP, gross domestic product, is a function of energy, because productivity is a function of energy. Passion is a source of energy, so the more Australians that are passionate, energy goes up, productivity goes up, Australia's GDP goes up. So if you are not as energetic as you like, you start to go, where am I going to be more disciplined? Next, item 6, and there's a great quote by Jim Rohn who said, the discipline of today is far less painful than the regrets of tomorrow. The discipline of today, far less than the regrets of tomorrow. Number 6, understand the need to take risks and make mistakes. Again, we cease to be optimistic because we beat ourselves up, because we made mistakes. Here's the rule. In my book, in chapter 4, I talk about it. Let me just check this, chapter 4. Darling, where is it? Yes, it is, chapter 4. The value, chapter 3, I was wrong. I made a mistake.
You'll be called out to not just.
The value of mistakes. There is not one skill that any of us in this room have, not one, including walking, eating, breathing. Most of you are breathing very badly. Walter, you're sitting very slumped down here. And that just sucks your energy down. We haven't even learnt how to breathe properly. And so every single skill that any of us have, we only learn through making mistakes. I defy you to give me one skill that you have that you learn without making mistakes. The answer is there isn't. And so again, that's why there's a lack of innovation, because
The willingness to make mistakes is the crucial element in innovation and creativity. If you're scared of making mistakes, which our society punishes, as we learn in our swamps from where? From school. You get rewarded for the right answer, not the wrong answer. Buckminster Fuller says, the kid who comes top of the class should be the one who made the most documented mistakes during the year. Just imagine that. Hand in your book to the teacher, says these are the mistakes that I made and this is what I learned. Not the person who got all the right answers. So one of the questions for you is how willing are you to put at risk what you've got? And number 7, gain insights into how to overcome the fears that block great performance. So, there are 2 driving emotions for us as human beings. One is love, at one end of the spectrum. What's the other end of the spectrum? What's the opposite of love?
Indifferent.
Right?
It's actually fear, isn't it?
Fear. Okay? Love and fear. That's the spectrum. When we're born with 2 fears. Fear of loud noises, fear of falling. All the other fears that you have been put into your swamps through your parents who are out there to protect you. And indeed, Buckminster Fuller says, you are taught to avoid mistakes by your parents lest you be put at a social disadvantage. So you learn that, so you become fearful about making mistakes. Love versus fear. And passion is a source of unlimited energy from your soul, your heart, your spirit, which is where love comes from. Where does fear come from?
Absence, separation from.
What part of your
Brain.
what being? From your mind. From your swamp. That's where your fears come from, don't they? So you have a battle, all of us have a battle inside us of love versus fear. We say, I want to make this contribution to the planet, I want to solve all these problems on the planet, but I've got to pay the rent. And the battle between these of mind versus soul, where do you think our society, what do you think our society honours? Mind or soul?
Mind.
Mind. And yet, the bushfires is a great example of soul in action, isn't it? So in your own life, you start to go, passion, right? Because when you're coming from passion, from a spiritual energy, that's the source of your courage. Indeed, the word courage comes from the French word coeur, from the Latin cor, meaning heart. Alright, so passion, a source of courage from your soul, because that's what you need to overcome fear. And that's the battle. And most people let the fear dominate rather than the love.
Isn't it said that fear plus oxygen is energy?
Nice. Fear plus oxygen is energy. Yes, it enables you to run.
Yeah.
This is the battle, and in simple terms, just picture this. Buckminster Fuller says, you are either, anything is either expanding or shrinking. Here's the picture I want you to hold, and then I will stop to have a conversation. Here's the choice. Fear, you want to be driven by fear or by love? Where do you think you would expand? Acting through fear or through love? Love. In my mind, the picture I have in my mind is that when you are driven by fear, your whole being is suppressed. You are shrinking, shriveling up. That's what the state of depression is. When you come from love and passion, life becomes a game. We're here for 120 years. I'm going to be here for at least 120 years. The question is, are you playing it like a game or a survival exercise dominated by fear? And my promise to you is, the less fear that you have, the more optimistic you will be. The more you honour this amazing weirdo that you are, that nobody else on the planet is like you, the more self-belief and self-confidence you will have. And that then enables you to pursue your passion, because you then are not driven by the fear of loss, you are driven by the desire to create, the desire to give, the desire to grow, to play life, to pursue the worthy ideal that you have identified as the worthy ideal for you.
Brilliant.
I'll do an outro to your Facebook.
It's interesting because
Yes. We can post that, and then we can start again on
Two questions.
on questions.
Yeah, do you want to say something to conclude the video?
Yes, so that's the conclusion to the video. Happy to answer any questions that any of my buddies on Facebook, if you share this, send me an email or ask them online, and I will happily expand any of these issues. And if you want to hear me talk for a day on this, I'm happy to do so.
What's your email
Thanks
address?
for paying attention. My email is charles@covest.com. Thank you.